Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Skylanders SWAP Force Elements cupcakes, where today I'm going to be showing you how to make these awesome and quite simple cupcakes from the Skylanders SWAP Force Kids video game. If you're not familiar with what Skylanders SWAP Force is, basically Skylanders was the first ever franchise to bring toys to life. So you've got your little Skylanders toys, you stick them on the interactive portal and they actually appear in the kids video game. This is like the #1 children's toy and video game franchise in the world, but it's also one of the most heavily requested party themes asked for by kids around the world. So I've tried to theme up an entire Skylanders party for you guys. You've got these cupcakes, you've got a free printable party pack, which is all of your party hats, banners, straw flags, everything that you need to create a gorgeous Skylanders SWAP Force party. I will link to that in the description box below. And earlier in the week, I showed you how to make this amazing Skylanders SWAP Force light up portal cake. This is the ultimate party for a Skylanders fan. The things that you'll need to make your Skylanders cupcakes, I've got a bit of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting and I've coloured that grey. So if you've ever tried to get black, then you know how to colour grey frosting. I've got that in a disposable piping bag and I've got that with a loyal number 20 open round piping tip. Of course, I've got my cupcakes and I've got an array of fondant colours. So I've got light blue, green, light orange, dark blue, red, dark orange, purple, grey and a little bit of white. I've got a couple of paintbrushes, a scalpel, a pair of scissors, a fondant rolling pin, a knife. I've got some corn flour in a shaker, 2 circle cutters which I will leave dimensions of in the description box below. I've got my Skylanders printable cupcake wrappers and I've also got a Skylanders printable template which I will also link to down below. Some water and a little bit of sticky tape. You can also see my little Skylanders mascots. They'll be keeping me company for this tutorial. The first thing that you want to do is you want to roll out your fondant discs. So you kind of want to do this a little bit in advance because you want to give them a little bit of time to set. Just a couple of hours is fine. So I roll that out relatively thin because you don't want too much fondant, and you can also use modelling chocolate here. You just want to take that larger circle cutter and just cut a nice neat circle. Position it on your board. You want to repeat this with each of your fondant colours so that you've got one for each of the 8 elements from the Skylanders SWAP Force game. Now you want to roll out your white fondant and you want to roll this out as thin as you can get it. Paper thin is perfect. Sit it off to the side. Normally I tell you to keep your fondant covered up, but this we want it to start drying out. You want to take your scissors and your little template now and you're just going to cut around each of those little shapes. If you want to know where to purchase any of this awesome Skylanders stuff, including their limited edition springtime figurines, I will leave a link in the description box below to the Skylanders website and they'll be able to point you in the direction of your nearest retailer. Once your fondant has started to dry and you've cut out all of your shapes, you want to now take your scalpel. So you need a really sharp knife or a scalpel for this, and you're just going to trace around those templates. Think of it as kind of like a craft class. The reason that we've let that fondant dry is because it's less likely to stretch and it's actually a lot easier to work with when you're doing fine detail work like this if you've let it dry for a little while. These cupcakes are definitely not hard to make, but they can be a bit time consuming. You can cut out and make all of these toppers up to a week in advance and just store them in an airtight container, which will save you a ton of time on the actual day of your Skylanders party. For the little details like these little inside dots, don't bother trying to cut those out. I'm just going to roll little tiny circles of fondant, flatten them out and just stick them down. So have a think about the different shapes that you've got there. Most of them you will need the scalpel to cut out. But this last one, it's kind of just like a little twist or a curl. So I'm just rolling a really thin sausage out of my fondant and just using that little picture as a little template because it's a really problematic shape and you're never going to get it as neat. Just flatten it down so it kind of matches the thickness of the other ones, and those are all of your elements ready to go. To give your toppers a little bit more dimension, you just want to take a little bit of that corn flour. You can also use pure icing sugar, and I'm using a soft paintbrush just to paint on like a little bit of a crescent moon in the corner or the edge of each of our little discs, just to give them a little bit more interest. Your discs should be relatively firm, and because that white fondant is so thin, your little fondant toppers should have started to firm up as well. These are so much easier to apply when they have started to firm than when they're just freshly cut and floppy. A little bit of water on the back acts like a glue, and then you just press them down onto the corresponding colour. So that's basically how you put your toppers together, and like I said, make them in advance and save yourself some time. Once you've finished all of your little toppers, now it's time to get your little cupcake wrappers ready. So you've got your little printables, you will have printed them out at home, and I like to print mine out on about a 210 GSM card, just a bit thicker than paper. cut it out, and you want to wrap it around the base of your cupcake, and then just take a little bit of sticky tape or double-sided tape and sticky tape it on. Stick them down on the bench and just push them in so you've got a really nice flush fit. And there you've got your Skylanders themed cupcake cases. To be perfectly honest, I reckon just a plain old swirl would still look fabulous on these awesome cupcake cases. For our cupcakes today though, I'm doing one of our low style of swirls, so I will link to that tutorial in the description box below, but I'm basically just putting a really low swirl of frosting on that cupcake, and then I'm using the back of my knife just to flatten off the top. The reason that I'm doing this is because I want a really nice flat surface for those Skylanders SWAP Force Elements toppers to go on. You can see there now it's a really nice and neat surface, but it's still got the rounded edge of that swirl. Take one of your toppers, stick it on top, and I always push it just on the bottom slightly so the back end of it tips up a little bit, facing towards the party guest. You just want to repeat this process, just swirling and smoothing and sticking and swirling and smoothing and sticking until all of your Skylanders Elements cupcakes are complete. So that completes our Skylanders SWAP Force Elements cupcake tutorial. Make sure that you head on over to my channel MyCupcakeAddiction and check out that light up portal cake. It is a truly amazing cake. Make sure you download the party printables for your Skylanders SWAP Force party. And if you're looking to secure yourself some of these really super cool totally limited edition springtime characters, I will be giving some away in my monthly wrap at the end of April. You can still pick up these characters in store, but they're only going to be available for a really short time, so make sure that you get in soon for those. Otherwise, check out my wrap and try your hand at winning a free one. As always, thanks very much for tuning in to My Cupcake Addiction.